Hi, my name's Eamon. I have a master's in advanced computer science, which basically means I'm unemployed in layman's terms.
Check it out.
If you guys have been scrolling on any short form video site, this could be Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, X, or whatever it is, you could probably see a Sora watermark kind of getting infested all over your feed. Now, this is not a coincidence. This is actually ChatGPT's new AI model.
Guys, AI is taking my job.
Which is called Sora 2, which was released earlier last week.
1 year ago, Sora 1 redefined what was possible with moving images.
This allows users with a little bit of text prompts to allow for realistic videos to be instructed to be uploaded on the site. And you've probably noticed a lot of copyrighted characters. For example, Mario, Pikachu, and strangely enough, Jake Paul's been floating around the scenes. And of course, Nintendo and Nickelodeon are causing some legal action against this. And I think this is a perfect metaphor of what AI is up to these days. This is kind of a scrape as much data and let users do as much as possible and face the legal consequences later. Even though the AI feels like an unstoppable force, I feel like the underlying business model is first, unsustainable, and second, is in a really, really big bubble.
It's the most powerful imagination engine ever built.
Stephen Hawking didn't die for this. Not to talk about how unsustainable ChatGPT is. For example, if you send ChatGPT a single prompt to try and write you an email, this equates to 500 milliliters of water.
Just write the email yourself. You stop wasting so much energy.
And if you guys write 50 simple, basic prompts asking you for some stupid joke or asking it to produce like a bunch of fan fiction, for example, even text prompts will equate to around 1.5 liters of water. Your smut yaoi tax is causing a bunch of water to be missing. There's going to be a water shortage because you can't be creative on your own. Now, the reason why this water bottle is relevant is actually around the new methodology that the likes of Figma, Microsoft, and OpenAI are using. Now, you've probably realized that the latest iteration of a lot of these AI models has a thinking time process, and a lot of these queries are taking longer and longer, with an average time frame of around 30 to 40 seconds. But why is that? For example, with ChatGPT's new GPT-5 model, it has to think out loud. First of all, it doesn't just answer your question anymore.
No.
Because ChatGPT-4 realized that it was getting a lot of things wrong. Now, instead of using DeepMind's chinchilla scaling law, which states that hopefully models will be more efficient by answering more and more queries over time, it's actually using a thinking process. Now, this new process actually has additional stages, which actually double and triple checks that the answer you're outputting is actually correct. Now, this can get actually computationally heavier than the original GPT models and actually has a backward efficiency curve compared to them. It's actually crazy to see the output model costs over time. Now, you would think each question would get cheaper and cheaper over the years, but they're actually getting A, computationally heavier, and is burning far more GPU time just for this slightly increased accuracy. Now, this also links why the AI boom is probably in a massive bubble, because OpenAI, which is probably at the forefront of AI technology, roughly made around $4.3
billion in revenue
in the first half of 2025. But at $4.3 billion of revenue, which is a lot of money, by the way, what would you guys think the annual run rate or spend to get this money? It's nearing $12 billion. They're screwed. And yet, even though this new technology is groundbreaking, they're still losing around $8 billion a year. And it's not slowing down either. Weirdly enough, if you look at the year-to-year projections, they're actually losing money at a faster rate. So right now, without any spend, this is just complete GPU output. For every $1 of revenue, it's around $2.30 of cost. This isn't the path to a profitable business, guys. Now, while OpenAI basically ruined our feed with the new Sora model,
Do a kickflip.
they quietly released a new private funding round, which, let's be honest, wasn't a coincidence. They probably did that on purpose and got an valuation of around $500 billion? Now, this sort of money was raised by the likes of fund venture capitals, for example, like MGX and SoftBank, because of course that tiny little Japanese man needs to get his little fingers on everything. And it's strange because now this company, which was magically appeared about 10 years ago, is now worth more than Samsung. And Samsung's in like every industry possible in Korea. Interested in shipbuilding by Samsung? What about the construction industry? Semiconductors? No problem. Life insurance. Even hotels. Samsung, by contrast, earned over 300 trillion. Is it yen? Is it Korean yen or dollars? I can't really. In revenue in the last year and has been growing consistently with over 10% profit margins. Proving that just because you have real profit margins and actual sustainable growth doesn't mean you can't get a £500 billion valuation, and is strangely the private firm with the largest net evaluation. This is a lot of money on my shoulders right now. Even with this large amount of funds being on my shoulders for some reason, there's even more shadier stuff with the AI revolution to basically explain to why it's in a bubble.
It will never be enough. The company that was the 100x or the 1000x is suddenly the 2x dog, but if you have no revenue, you can say you're pre-revenue.
The app is indeed pre-revenue.
Look, they're even laughing in your face, telling you this app makes no money, but yet it's worth $500 billion. What the f?
Il porte. Dump it.
Now there's a deal that's basically confirmed to me why this is an AI bubble, and I'm going to explain this with a bunch of post-it notes and pens, because everything gets really complicated and there's too many layers, because of course AI has to show off how many layers it can have. Now we're going to start with the main culprit, which is OpenAI, who've reportedly signed a deal worth up to, I can't believe I'm going to say this, $300 billion with, you guessed it, Oracle. Who uses Oracle these days? People are going to be like,
technically Oracle has a MySQL solution.
But yeah, I know that, but it provides like what, cloud services for large organizations. First, I'm not a cloud, and B, I'm not a large organization, am I? So no one uses Oracle. Now this random deal, just to tell you by the way, it made Oracle jump 359%. These numbers aren't real. This is mostly down to this AI client that they've got on, because Oracle has a bunch of servers that nobody uses, but it can have the capacity for Project Stargate.
AI.
Now this means Oracle investors can jump in the air because they've secured a full ton of investment for 5 years. Now you might be wondering why I'm holding Nvidia up in my hand here. Now Nvidia supplies all the chips that OpenAI uses. I'm not sure why OpenAI is falling on the floor here. So OpenAI uses all the facilities that Nvidia provide. Now, OpenAI is actually a really loyal customer to Nvidia. They're one of the reasons why GPU graphics cards for Nvidia have increased fourfold, even though they do the same thing, which is really fun. Although that this is the case, and it is really annoying for people who just want to play games.
I said, what the hell is Nvidia? I've never heard of it before.
Nvidia is investing $100 billion into OpenAI. Now, you might say $100 billion is a lot of money, and it is, but you also have to take into account that Nvidia was once worth $16 billion, which is around 5 years ago, and now they have increased that by 11-fold. Even though that is the case, they're going to be invested $100 billion to OpenAI. But the weird thing about that is, they're not going to be invested $100 billion of actual stock. They're actually doing a circular loop here, where Nvidia puts funds into OpenAI, and OpenAI invests and buys the GPUs.
The GeForce RTX 3080 Ti
from Nvidia. This circle loop of £1 billion rotations will eventually get the £100 billion evaluation. But that money is basically coming out of nowhere. But obviously this is not real. I'm basically just giving my opinion that none of this is real, or I am not a lawyer, or whatever the right term for that is. The information in this video is based on my personal opinion and experiences, and should not be considered professional financial advice. Who would take financial advice from me? I have a stick figure as an animation. This is basically the definition of like an echo chamber in this little section. And it's strange because a lot of industry experts are actually encouraging this weird little circle hodgepodge, which I haven't even finished, by the way. But the reason why companies are actually advocating for this,
congratulations, Mr. Krabs.
Hello, I like money.
is because the S&P 500 has grew significantly in the past couple of years, but the majority of which came from AI, which a total of that came out to be around 80%. So if this grows, the whole market grows, so everyone's happy.
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money.
And this has been boosting other companies. For example, Oracle has had an increased valuation up to $455 billion because it has been investing into Nvidia. This is basically just a big circle going on. Everybody is investing into everybody, and it's kind of causing a little bit of money to be kind of floating around, but I'm not sure how far this can take. Yes, we have a bunch of SpongeBob funny videos out of this, but
You gonna let me in?
But is it actually causing $100 billion worth of funding going on? Probably not. You can see this is kind of like a really large circle that's happening here. Each company's success is dependent on the other one buying in. OpenAI needs Oracle computers and data centers, while Oracle needs OpenAI's demand, and Nvidia basically needs both of them to be working properly.
I said, what the hell is Nvidia? I've never heard of it.
But they all kind of boost each other's evaluation, and it kind of is like a massive echo chamber going on. It's kind of like the same money being cycled throughout the system. And eventually, in my opinion, it's probably going to blow up at some point, surely. If one corner slips, if the AI models are getting into a lawsuit or there's an energy shortage problem, we have serious problems concerning with not just the AI market, but probably the entire market in general, because a lot of it is propped up from this boom. Now, AI clearly has some clear advantages, but business models are being stuck in this entire feedback loop that we've got going on. But the question is, whether AI chips are actually in charge of the world, or if we're just kind of trying to keep this afloat, even though the electricity being provided for it isn't outweighing the costs. This strange diagram here, hopefully somebody sees what I'm seeing, because this kind of looks like a big circle. And circles are almost like bubbles.
You are in full control of your likeness on this network. There is no way for someone to generate you without you having given explicit permission and gone through this Cameo flow, which is a very important principle for us.